Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Pill parties and edibles are the new trend in Jamaica. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Monday, 11th April 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Pill parties and the consumption of edibles seem to be the new trend among Jamaica's youth, which the police say is causing mayhem in schools, especially in the parish of St. Catherine. TVJ's Kalisha Williams has the story.
First, there were guard rings and school fights. Now, students have taken up a new trend of popping pills.
They're having pill parties. Pill parties. Back in the day, you hear about ecstasy. Ecstasy was a party drug. It make you feel nice and you do your thing. Now, this Molly thing has surfaced. It is not an over-the-counter, I'm told. I'm told that it is under the counter. So there's the underworld that is pushing this.
It's especially a challenge in St. Catherine South. Detective Corporal Damian Hammond is the Safe School Coordinator for the division.
When they got to the pill party, a 14-year-old went and he started to gyrate on the ground and do some stuff. Didn't know himself that would rush him to the hospital. And so this is creeping in.
The parties involve students from the same schools who are also getting creative in how they conceal contraband.
They are not just camping ball and drops and cakes and cookies. They are laced with ganja. So ganja is the binding agent in these products. And you have what is called now alcohol gummies. So the gummies are laced with alcohol, soaked, infused. An adult told me that when they smell the thing, it was as potent as just drinking it from the bottle.
Sherian Allen, the Jamaican police officer who smuggled drugs in her vagina into the U.S., has pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges.
Allen was convicted in a Florida federal district court for importing drugs, said the district attorney's office for the Southern District of Florida. She faces up to 40 years in prison and is being sentenced on June 15th. Allen was indicted on 2 counts of importation of 500 grams or more of cocaine and possession with the intent to distribute 500 grams or more of cocaine. Allen, 42, was arrested after she arrived in early February at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport on a flight from Montego Bay, Jamaica. It was reported that an inspection by U.S. Customs and Border Protection revealed that Allen had a package of cocaine inside her vagina and a package of cocaine inside each of her bra cups. It was further reported that Allen also had 90 pellets of packaged cocaine inside her stomach, which she had swallowed. CBP officers took Allen to a local hospital where she expelled pellets. Allen worked for the Jamaican Constabulary Force over the past 18 years. She was suspended following her arrest.
In the meantime, Montego Bay Mobay Jamaica Crime Summit declared violence as not normal.
Identifying, understanding, and preventing the cycle of crime were just some of the common topics of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce's Crime Summit. The National Security Minister says it will require years of work to reverse Jamaica's crime problem. But what about those who cannot be saved? Jamila Maitland has the details.
They're referred to as the irredeemables, youngsters between the ages of 16 to 28 who've marred themselves in a life of crime and cannot be swayed otherwise. Director of Operations at Guardsman Group, Lieutenant Commander George Overton, says they're products of Jamaica's crime problem.
When a young man who is barely educated has been put in a position to have a disposable income of over $500,000–$600,000 a month, from his illegal activities, what do you offer him as an alternative?
But National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang believes if given the correct opportunities, it is possible that they can become law-abiding citizens.
I find it hard to write about any Jamaican irredeemable. I think Jamaica is some of the most creative people. We accept that. Some of the most talented people. But when it comes to the community, we tend to overlook that and condemn some.
Montego Bay St. James has, over the years, developed a reputation of being the epicenter of lottery scamming. Dr. Chang says the proceeds are used to finance illegal gang activities. He says it's not normal, but can the level of violence seen be reversed?
Anybody who believes that there is a silver bullet that's going to fix this overnight, I warn you, you are a perfect candidate for the scammers.
While the men may differ on the approach to addressing some of the country's at-risk youth, they agree that mentorship, family support, and access to education should lead the list. And like the victims who get scammed, it will require a lot of resources from both the government and private sector. However, this time, the country should see a return on the investment.
Jamaica will do better, me island me treasure. No the war, no we be fighting forever.
I'm confident if we get the full support of the community, the engagement of the business leaders, the engagement of the professionals, and all those who are here who wish to see a different environment, we can convert it.
Jamila Maitland, TVJ News.
Barbados' Education Minister Kay McCormick is somewhat mum on disciplinary action being taken against 2 teachers for running in the January 9th general election.
Educators Alwyn Bob and Pedro Shepherd, who contested seats on behalf of the Democratic Labour Party, received correspondence from the Ministry of Public Service this week, indicating they would be sent on leave with half pay from Wednesday for a period of 6 months. Pressed for a comment on the development following the handing over of 100 STEM kits donated to the ministry today, McConney had this to say.
At this point in time, I would prefer not to comment on that matter. As you know, it is already moving forward through our court system, and I prefer at this time not to make any comment on this matter.
Minister McConney turned her attention to the conduct of face-to-face classes, which resumed on February 21. Overall, she was satisfied that the COVID-19 protocols at schools were followed.
As we said from the beginning, it was going to be phased. Not everyone would have been able to go back to school at the same time, simply because of that 3-foot distance and the fact that not all schools had the capacity using that 3-foot distance to be able to bring all of the students back to school. We did, in fact, decide that there might be a hybrid approach in some cases where the school's capacity was not there to bring everyone back. And that, in fact, has worked generally well. I am especially pleased with the fact that persons have mostly been following the protocols. And while, yes, there were some incidences of COVID within the school system, and teachers and students and staff, we have had no wide outbreaks. That means, therefore, that while the expectation was met that, yes, there will be some cases because, schools are just a microcosm of the rest of Barbados, what we're excited about is the fact that the protocols have been followed.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Despite the challenges the country continues to face, Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says his government has stayed the course in propelling Antigua and Barbuda toward being an economic powerhouse. ABS's Jessica Russell interviewed the head of government.
Transforming this country into an economic powerhouse will not happen overnight. It's an aspiration that my government has for the people of Antigua and Barbuda, and that aspiration will continue. It will take time.
Prime Minister Gaston Brown says his government has made a major advancement in turning the country into an economic powerhouse, a vision he named for the country on becoming its leader 8 years ago.
We have made significant strides. When you look at our progress in education and healthcare, today we're here to celebrate one of our successes. We now have 4 beds per 1,000, which is double the average within the region and beyond.
This, he says, in the face of continued water supply issues and emergency responders lacking tools.
We just have to continue to address the challenges as they arise and to focus on achieving that transformation into an economic powerhouse. We can do it. We have the skills, we have the talent, we have resilience. It will take time.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister says Antiguans and Barbudans need to be mindful of the times we're living in.
Many of these political operatives, they're behaving as though that the escalation in petroleum prices and food prices, that it is as a result of some bad policy of the government, which is not. This is a global phenomenon. We're hoping that it will be short term. We're hoping that the situation in Ukraine will be resolved shortly and that we could see some restoration in terms of stability.
He also says his government has been through more than any previous administration and is best suited to lead this era.
There's no other government in the history of this country that has been tested the way my administration has been tested. And we would have managed COVID admirably to the extent that we have restored to normalcy quicker than any other country within the region. And I believe that based on the global instability, the best team to continue to lead this country is the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party administration. And I ask the people of Antigua and Barbuda to continue to give us their support, and they can rest assured that we will continue to honor their support.
Jessica Russell, ABS News.
Disgusting. That's how one survivor from the capsized MV Fairchance has described the response of authorities. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines registered vessel overturned in Trinidad and Tobago waters last Saturday. 2 of the 7-member crew escaped alive. So far, 1 body was recovered from the vessel and 4 people remain unaccounted for. TV6's Renessa Cutting has more on this story.
Look at this position right now. We out here, there is no Coast Guard, there is nobody can have a look. We out here, there is nobody with us to... It's time going. It's today, it's 6th day. Today is the 6th day. 7 days since this incident took place. The guy's body down there. Look at that. The divers, the salvage team, say they're seeing the bodies, but they cannot get the bodies out due to the guys and them are trapped. So we are here just lonely.
It's an all too familiar cry, coming closely on the heels of the Paria diving tragedy. 4 persons remain unaccounted for after the MV Fairchance ran into difficulty last Saturday and started taking on water. 2 men were rescued and 1 body was retrieved, but the other people who were on board the MV Fairchance are still unaccounted for.
The guys them were alive. You could see actually the boat was way up over the water. So in the procedure of that, we came to Coast Guard base and we went out there. Fast and seen, I'm very disgusted with this government. The government of Grenada is not coming up with anything. The government of St. Vincent. And look at that, the Trinidad government is not helping us to recapture those guys. Those guys are still in the boat. We only recapture 1 of those bodies. And we need that, the family, everybody. I need to get back home and come on, the age and nobody's not saying anything to me. We are very disgusting.
Mr. McIntosh says at this point he's given up all hope of ever seeing his friends alive again. But closure is desperately needed.
At least we need to get the bodies. We need to get the bodies. Because I need to go home, I need to go home. At least the crew member come back to the surface with the body. We know right now there's a person that died. So we need to get the bodies to go home. The family calling, the sisters calling, everyone is calling. And the people of Trinidad, St. Vincent government, Maritime, everybody come together and let's get this boat flipped, please. We're begging for help. Come together, get this boat flipped. We're begging, we need help.
Meantime, President of Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, Gary Abood, is calling for a commission of inquiry into the incident.
There should be a commission of inquiry into what has happened here because the first 24 hours, as anyone will tell you in a rescue mission, is most critical. After that, it's expected that they would have expired. After that, it becomes a recovery mission. So why didn't the Coast Guard dive initially? To say that the water was rough is not a proper excuse because when you dive down 10 or 20 feet below, there's no roughness. And if the tide is moving, everything is moving, including the vessel. So why didn't they respond? Do the Coast Guard have capacities on their expensive vessels? They should have equipment, do they? And if they don't, why not? They employ 27 divers. Were any of the divers on the vessels? If not, why not? And what will become of this? What will become of the families? Will they be paid compensation?
The Vincentian cargo ship was en route to Kingstown when tragedy struck. Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.